Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. Thanks so much for stopping by. Today it is Sunday, it's the 31st of January, and this video is going to be another Memories of Blackpool video. I haven't done a Memories of Blackpool video for a while, and a couple of people have asked me to do another one. Well, this video is going to be about this area of the promenade, things I remember. For a start, we had the different prom. It was the old basalt stones that ran along the whole promenade, and on this bit, just as we head towards the pier, there was a ramp, and was there wooden stairs? I actually can't remember, but I did really like the old prom around here. I think the older prom was so much nicer. Next to Central Pier, which I'm just really pointing the camera right at there, was the old Lifeboat House. It was more or less next to the pier, maybe a little bit further back, and also it was on the beach. And if the old Lifeboat House was there in the same spot, it would be on the promenade. But the way the prom was built back then, the old Lifeboat House was actually on the beach. And I'll actually put a little picture of it in the video now, so you can see what it looked like. So here is the pic now. Yep, so that was the old Lifeboat House, and sometimes if my mum brought us to the beach, if it was a rainy day, we would sit under the Lifeboat House. And whilst I didn't mind sitting under the Lifeboat House, I didn't like it as much because the sand was always a lot colder, because obviously the sun wasn't warming the sand under there. So we had the old Lifeboat House there. Now, what about the pier? What was on the pier? Well, when I was little, there was a dome on the pier that appeared one summer, and it was called the Moonwalk. And I remember wondering what it meant and what it was, the Moonwalk. And I remember pestering and asking, and one day my nan took my sister and I down. I think my auntie may have been with us, I can't remember, but either way, my sister and me, we went into the Moonwalk, and it was inside this dome, and it was really like a giant bouncy castle, but the floor wasn't made of the same vinyl that a bouncy castle is. You know those high quality airbeds you get, that they sort of feel like velvety, not really velvety. I'm trying to think of the correct word for the fabric they're made in, but it sort of had a fabric feel to it, and you basically just ran around and jumped within the dome for a few minutes till your time was up. I mean, it wasn't like a proper moonwalk, there was no zero gravity or anything, which I have to say, younger me, I was slightly disappointed, because you know when you're a little kid and you take things literally most of the time. I mean, kids are a little bit wiser nowadays, because even from an early age, kids have access to the internet and technology, and kids know that things aren't always how TV or advertising says they are. But back then, kids, or at least I was, a lot more naive. If an advertisement said, oh, this is the Moonwalk, or this is going to be that way, or whatever, you would just believe it and think, yep, I want to go in there. So yeah, it was the Moonwalk, and I think the Moonwalk was only there for one season. May have been two. I mean, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. Oh, old vintage tram, that's one of my favourites. Yeah, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, but I do think the Moonwalk was only there for one season, but I was tiny back then, so I don't really remember. But the dome stayed there, or at least a dome stayed there, and they had this thing one year called Cinema 2000, although that may have been quite a few years later. And that was like one of those, you know, those simulators you sit in. It's like a shuttle, and you're sitting there and they move around and stuff, and they show you videos of stuff like roller coasters and paragliding through the Grand Canyon and whatever, and you're supposed to feel like you're there. It was sort of similar thing to that from what I remember, except there was no movement. You just would stand in there and watch the bad quality projected footage onto half of the dome. So yeah, the Cinema 2000 I thought was pretty crappy, and I was a little kid with sometimes really low expectations, so if I thought it was crappy, it must have been crappy. So what else do we remember on Central Pier? And well, that's about it for like my vintage Central Pier memories. I remember when they first got the wheel. Now if I can zoom in on one of the carriages there, if I can keep the camera still, you can see that cage around it. If we look below the cage at the seat itself, can you see that lower bar? That just is about not even a foot. It's attached to the seat. Well, when the big wheel first opened, that lower bar wasn't there, and also, is that coming in or going out? I think it's going out, folks. When the wheel first opened, none of that was there. The cage wasn't there, but also that lower bar on the bottom wasn't there either. You basically just sat in the carriage like you were sitting in a cereal bowl and had a ride. And after I think a couple of seasons, they put in those little bars around the bottom of the carriage. Come on, focus, focus, focus. I'm talking about that little one just there on the bottom. You can see it. If I zoom in, you can see it's not connected to the actual cage itself, and they put them on. And I remember going on the big wheel with, I think, my sister, and saying, wow, it feels so much safer with that bar around. You can kind of just put your arm on it and you feel like you're not going to topple out at any second. And then a few years after that, they added the full cage, but in the beginning there was no safety bar or cage or anything. And I've said that to a few people, and people have clapped back and gone, no, you're lying, or you're wrong, or you're remembering it wrong. And I'm like, I'm not, because I remember there was no bar or cage there. So if you remember the big wheel with no bars and no cage or anything like that, please let me know, because there is a tiny piece of me that thinks, wait, am I wrong, am I going crazy? Because I'm positive I remember it with no safety on at all. And also, I'm going to come up these steps now. Down this area of the promenade, maybe not quite here, a little bit further, just opposite where Sea Life is, and maybe a bit closer to North Pier, but not quite that far. Boats. There used to be loads and loads and loads of boats just left on the prom with the tarpaulins tied over the top, and they seem to be left there permanently. They were there all the time. And I just remember loads and loads and loads of boats. But again, these are memories that I've got from when I was really little. And I know when you're smaller, you tend to remember things differently, because smaller people have a different view of the world. Well, literally, you're looking at things from an entirely different perspective and angle. But I remember lots of boats, and also all the deck chairs with all the stacks. and the deck chair attendants, and also all the ice cream vans on the beach. And you still get the ice cream vans on the beach now, but back then they would sell cornets. And got a seagull there. Hello seagull, zooming on you, say hi to YouTube. He's not interested. Let's come out again. I'll let him walk off. Yeah, the ice cream vans would sell cups of tea and stuff, and there was a couple of vans where the owners would, if the little kids went up and asked, they'd be like, have a bag please, and the owners would give you a bag, and if you just walked around the area, say a 10 or 20 metre area surrounding the ice cream van, and picked up all the rubbish like discarded plastic cups and burger trays and just general rubbish, and if you filled the bag up, took it back to the van man, showed him that you'd filled the bag up, he would go like, cool, put it in the bin, and then you'd go back and he would give you a little cornet. And sometimes they would just pop a flake in if you got loads of rubbish, not very often, but you could get a cornet. And I remember thinking like that was a great way to get a free cornet when you were little. You would only do it for the really little kids, probably like the 8s and unders, and sometimes you'd go, can I have a bag, and they'd be like, sorry love, I've got none left today, because clearly they can't give out infinite bags and infinite free ice cream, so maybe they only did like 10 or 15 a day, I don't know. But looking back, I think that was a great idea, win-win all round. The beach gets tidier, kids get a free ice cream, and it also taught me that doing little jobs and little bits of work and getting something for it, you know. But I used to think that was a great idea. I think they were the Noventis vans. I did like the Noventis ice cream. They had this white vanilla and it was just so good. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that little Memories of Blackpool video. I am going to end this one now. So I'm going to say thank you so much for watching. Please punch that like button and please subscribe. And I will see you all very soon in the next video. Goodbye.